Hey, yeah, we back at it again. My name is Hancho, and this is my guy.
Siriaco, call me Rocco.
And this is fourth and fantasy, baby, coming at y'all again with another episode. Actually, hoping y'all are feeling absolutely amazing this wonderful Thursday, man. I feel like now we're at the part of the off season in fantasy where you're basically for the most part you've done majority of all your rookie drafts, and now you're assessing your teams trying to make, well, if you, I feel like you should have already done this to some degree, but you're looking at your teams, seeing that you're able to uh, in a way, if you're contending, if you're rebuilding, and we'll be looking at certain guys that we're looking to trade.
Mm-hmm.
But today's episode is brought to you by Fast Draft, the fastest best ball game out there. 20 seconds per pick. Rookie drafts basically ending up in 5 minutes. They have all rookie tournaments. They got all flex tournaments. They have all defensive tournaments where you can end up winning you some cash moolah in your pocket, more than 250,000. Wow, wow. You know what I mean? You need to compete, you need to get in, you need to get on the app, either by in that left hand corner scanning that QR code, which would take you to the Fast Draft website, and you can either download it for Android or Apple devices using our promo code fourth. And Fast Draft will double your first deposit on the app up to $50. I repeat, using our promo codes fourth. Fast Draft will double your first deposit up to $50 on the Fast Draft app. Visit Fast Draft and get that ass in the game, baby. Bow.
Boom.
But no, nevertheless, man, we got another banger for you guys today. We actually have a few things scheduled out for you these next coming days. We have a guest this weekend. We actually will be on another show next week. Got a lot of things lined up, but it's looking real fun these next coming days. Rocco, the first the first candidate that I want to talk about as a trade candidate is near and dear to my heart. I'll have to say, just because I'm a big Dallas Cowboys fan. You know how we rocking over here, and I feel like one, he's one of the more disrespected quarterbacks in the NFL by far, because he doesn't get his flowers, in my opinion. Mr. Dak Prescott himself is my first trade candidate of 2025. Why is he my first trade candidate? Because one, he already has CD Lamb. Actually, there's a few factors to this, and as a Cowboys fan, I can give a little bit of layers to it. One, he has one of the more elite, top three elite wide receivers in the game, CD Lamb. Then to throw out, he just got another weapon in the game, George Pickens, who I think is very much underrated and goes to a better situation from Pittsburgh to Dallas to be the other wide receiver in that offense. And I won't say wide receiver two because that would be too motherfucking disrespectful to Pickens. We got another one to go with our other one with
Another
CD
one.
Lamb. Another one. And I believe Dak Prescott. And then just, and I can't even stop there. You got Big Fur in the middle. They can still get it done. I'm still relatively higher on Mingo, and not to throw or make it sound like to downplay it, but also Tolbert had over 700 receiving yards last year. He moves into a more reserved role as a wide receiver three, wide receiver four, which I think is better for his skill set. I think. Then I think it's also this will be my last point. Mike McCarthy's out the building. I think his offense was very stagnant. It wasn't modern, so it left Dak having to put way too much on his shoulders to make the offense good. I don't think the scheme when the Cowboys were top five, top 10, having the top shoot, even when we had the top one, the first number one offense in the NFL, it wasn't the scheme that transcended us to that. It was Dak Prescott and the weapons around it. I think that Prescott in 2025 has gained some value back to him. Yes, he is coming back off a hamstring injury, but he has looked nothing but good, or I could even say great at OTAs. He's moving around well. He actually is going through a full practice. And honestly, if I was contending, I would be very interested in throwing, hey, shit, uh, a 2025 second for Dak Prescott. Could it? I could see be getting this trade done. I don't think a first is needed as he's 30. He's going into his or 30 or 31, but he's over that. He touched that 30 mark, and he's going into his 10th year in the NFL. Yes, quarterback can
Mm-hmm.
play longer. They have longer longevity as a position and whole, but I don't think at this stage of his career, I would probably toss out. I mean, a late first at the most. I was like, if it's you know super flex at the very 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 max as a late first for Dak Prescott on where he could finish. I think he actually could be a dark horse for the MVP in 2025. That's how high I think Dak Prescott could be up the charts.
Uh, I'll be honest with you. I would rather have Dak Prescott on my dynasty team than Cam Ward today,
Mhm.
because Dak Prescott is going to win championships in 2025. You know why? I can show you right now why. Let's see if we can blow that up a little bit. There we go. All right. Look at this right here. Very scientific. 4,930. Then 1,809. 44, 37. 2,800. 45, 36. 1,900. My intuition says that this is going to be another 4,530 plus touchdown year, because Dak Prescott at this point is an every other year quarterback. It's proven. It's proven. You know, whatever it is, whether it be injury, bad performance, lack of weapons, he's got the weapons now. He's got the offensive line. He is going to explode in 2025. I feel like he's going to be a league winner. CeeDee Lamb's going to be a league winner. Get your hands on those two. They are screaming buys if you can get them. Somebody was coming hard after Malik Neighbors. So the fact that Malik Neighbors is actually, his dynasty value is a little bit higher than CeeDee Lamb because of the age. I know you may not agree with it, but according to Keep
Sort of
Trade
funny
Cut,
enough.
the community believes so. So if I can get CeeDee Lamb for Malik Neighbors and maybe another piece, I think it's about a second. Just a little while ago, I sent out an offer: CeeDee Lamb and Devonta Smith for Neighbors, and Ben Sinnott. Didn't get
Okay.
it done, but that was equal. Just to kind of give you an idea, that was equal on KTC. So
Mhm.
if you can get your hands on uh, pieces of the Cowboys offense. Even George Pickens, he's another guy. He's getting steamed up a little bit, so your buy window probably ended. But to me, Dak Prescott, I would go with the security of him having another monster year over the uncertainty of Cam Ward and the Tennessee Titans. So this is to say that I would I would want the 105 or better for Dak Prescott in a super flex.
Yeah, I would.
110. I'm not selling for that price. I'd rather wait till in season when he's blowing up. If I'm a rebuilder and then stack
Mhm.
those
Well,
picks.
and to throw even more onto it, if you're in a 6 point passing league, Dak Prescott, when he's on, when everything is clicking, the offense
Mm-hmm.
is clicking, he's not dealing with injury. He typically is in that top 10, top five of passing touchdowns in the league. And no, he doesn't have the rushing upside as he used to in his younger years. He doesn't run as he used to. But I've actually been hearing in camp he's been using his legs a lot more. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
he has refigured himself or transformed his body or retuned his body. So we could see that Prescott using his feet again, which would add even more value on top of what he already brings as a quarterback. I think he's one when it comes to processes of the game
Mm-hmm.
pre-snap. I think he's one of the, I think that's kind of a lost art when we look at the modern NFL. And he's one of the guys that do have a full command of his offense. And that spoke again. I spoke on it a little bit earlier with Mike McCarthy going, which is I believe one of Dak Prescott's ops. Brian Schottenheimer is going to make this offense a lot more Dak friendly. And when I say Dak friendly, more motions, more cut splits, things that will make Dak Prescott's life a lot more easier, where you're not asking so much out of him to
Mm-hmm.
elevate the offense. You're making it easier for him. You're bringing talent around him. And I believe in 2025, I will go out on a limb here on Fourth and Fantasy today. Dak Prescott in 2025 will finish as a top five quarterback, hands down.
And
Write that up.
And the beautiful thing is that you can get him in startups today. You can possibly sneak him onto your roster as your QB3, which is just ludicrous.
Honestly, how I like to play it, I'm more of a guy who wants to go and get elite wide receiver talent early,
Mm-hmm.
and that helps the way that people right now are valuing that Prescott. That actually helps me out even more because I can go get those wide receivers first in that first, second round, and then I can end up getting that Prescott in that sixth round, seventh round of startup drafts, and I could be good. I'll be good to go. Now I'll be just comfortable rolling with Dak Prescott as my QB2. I'll be comfortable rolling out Dak Prescott in 2025 as my QB1. I think he can be a low QB1, routinely a
Mm-hmm.
low QB1, and could provide you those high QB1 games when the offense is on tune. And I think he has a better chance of doing that more in 2025.
I like it. I like it.
Our
Bye.
second our second buy of 2025, no bars, not rhyming. Dr. Seuss don't got shit on me, boy, is a person who I actually have acquired in the last week. Devontae Adams. I actually saw a clip of him today catching a pass from Matthew Stafford, a deep ball, nevertheless. And people love to discount older prospects. And yes, in Dynasty, that kind of is what happens. The older a player gets, the more his value decreases. Nevertheless, Devontae Adams is still good in 2025. To Devontae Adams still has potential to be in that top 24, top 20 of guys in Dynasty in 2025. Yes, Has he maybe lost a step a little bit athletically? Sure. But when it comes to the craft of being a receiver, when it comes to route running, when it comes to production, Devontae Adams is still getting it done. Adams is still doing it with the best of them, and he goes to a situation with a Matthew Stafford who we all love and near and dear to our hearts. He goes to a Matthew Stafford who, at this point, I would have ahead of Aaron Rodgers in their where where their arm talent is at, right? I
Is
think.
that a joke? Stafford is like in a whole different stratosphere. Like that's why he's still employed.
So I think with Devontae Adams, then you pair him with a Puka, so he doesn't need to be the guy. Which I mean, yes, he didn't have to be the guy with the New York Jets either, but overall, I think he goes to a better offense.
Hmm.
He goes to a quarterback at this very moment, and then also he goes to a better play caller in Sean McVay, who's going to craft up some plays to get him involved in that offense to go with a decent running game with Kyron Williams, and then just overall a better humming offense. But what do you feel about Devontae Adams in 2025?
I think he landed. He went from purgatory, which is the New York Giants, um, to one of the best passing
Yes.
situations in the league. I mean, this team needed a number two. Cooper Cup kind of aged out of there, and he was a shell of himself last year. Now you put Devontae Adams and Puka as your starting two wide receivers, and that you know that makes me want to buy Stafford honestly because when Stafford has two solid receivers, you're
Mm.
going to see fireworks. Last year that offense was kind of broken, and they kind of relied on an inefficient running game and the defense, which really kind of came into the forefront with their insane pass rushers. But to add him, basically to replace Cooper Cup, who, I mean, I love Cooper Cup, but he was not doing shit out there last year. So you got those two, and you can honestly kind of start to project this as one of the upper tier offenses in the league. So yeah, I'm all in on Devonte Adams, and I think both Devonte Adams and Puka Nakua could push for wide receiver one status on the same team. I am hard pressed to find
Hot
two
take.
better receivers in the league.
That's a hot take right there. I like it. And if you really look at the Rams, they were in that top 15 when it comes to passing attempts. And then when we're looking at Matthew
Mm-hmm.
Stafford, who once again, go dogs. Y'all know how I'm always gonna root for my Georgia Bulldogs, but he is someone who literally going back now. It's I say the last 3 years he hasn't got back to this stratosphere, but he's only three in 2021. He almost threw for 5,000 yards. He threw for 4,886 to go along with 41 passing touchdowns.
Mm-hmm.
What is it to say that he can't touch 40 passing touchdowns again this year with Puka Nakua and Devontae Adams? And then
I
that's
think it's
putting
expected.
right, and then putting it lightly to go with I don't want to put too much on him, but a Terrence Ferguson who I think could add another wrinkle to this overall offense. Devontae Adams could see himself, and if we're talking about ranges, I
Mm-hmm.
think realistically, week per week, he's a high wide receiver too all year.
Mm-hmm.
But I think he can give you those wide receiver 1 weeks. Let's say they're facing an opponent that's stacking up the run. and they're having issues. Kyron Williams isn't being able to run the ball. They're getting bounced back, or they get down pretty quickly, and they have a pretty good defense. So I think that's one thing that actually will benefit Matthew Stafford in a way to where if their defense is doing what they need to and they're keeping the the game relatively low, he's gonna have his chances to throw that thing out. But Devontae Adams, I think he's like what 30 something, 32, 30.
He old.
So yeah, but I think
He old as
relatively
dirt.
I think he still got 2, 3 years left in the tank to do to be productive for your fantasy team.
I feel good. I feel good about 25, and that's what I'm buying into. Anything after that is lanyap. But according to Keep Trade Cut, his value is a mid second, and to buy that kind of production, which outside of injury, you can bank on Devonte Adams' production. I mean, he had 1,000 yards in a god awful situation last year. Kind of rolling between two teams, and when he was on the Raiders, I mean, that was shit. I mean, he had he's got the vibes, but Gardner Minshew is not who I want to have throwing to my wide receiver one at all. So to get into the Ram situation where Matthew Stafford, he will pepper his targets. He will throw a catchable ball. He will throw guys open. And when you got Puka Nakua and Devontae Adams who can shake guys off the line and make guys look silly, I mean, it's going to be a beautiful thing. I think that the Rams could have one of the better offenses in the league, and I'm actually buying into both Puka and Devontae Adams because I think they're gonna take some of that coverage off of each other, so they're gonna feed into each other, getting single coverage looks, and Matthew Stafford just gonna spam those single coverage looks, and I think that team is just gonna go up and down the field. It should be a really, really fun watch.
Devontae Adams has gone. He went. He like you touched on it. He hit 1,000 yards last year. He hit 1,000 yards in 2023.
Mm-hmm.
He hit 1,000 yards in 2022. He did it again into the. If you're catching the pattern here, Devontae Adams is a dog, and yes, is he aging? Sure, but is the production still 100% there? Yes. He's still productive on the league. He's still one of the more productive wide receivers in the league. And if you can acquire him for a mid second, I would even do it honestly for, I mean, it depends on how early, right? If we're talking about, if I got to 204, I'm shipping that thing off to go get Devontae Adams. I mean, I think for what if think about it now, if you haven't done your rookie drafts yet, the players that you've been able to get at that turnaround at that 204, 205, it's mainly receivers that are going
Mm-hmm.
there. I'm taking Devontae Adams over Trey Harris in 2025 for productivity. I'm taking Devontae Adams over at Jack Batch for 2025. If I'm contending wise, right? If I'm not
Yeah, I
worried
mean,
about
we're talking
rebuilding,
about contenders.
right? So if I'm trying to go get me a chip,
Mm-hmm.
Devontae Adams gives me a better chance at doing that rather than a Jack Batch or a Trey Harris or a Jaden Higgins that where you can get in that early-ish second round. So yeah, I'm 100% comfortable shipping out a mid second for Mr. Devontae Adams, and he's going to be one of the reasons. I honestly, and I'm in a league, a $50 league, where I just acquired Jameer Gibbs, and he was part of that deal. I got Jameer Gibbs and I got Devontae Adams. Yes, I ended up shipping out Jamar Chase, but yeah, but at the same time, I'll take Gibbs at my receivers are pretty good, so I'm taking Gibbs who is our RB1, and then I get a top 20-ish receiver to go along with, I forget who, like Rashad Bateman, I believe I got on top of it, and then a second. So
I like Bateman. Bateman's a good player.
yeah, so when I looked at my overall construction of my roster, I was like, I need to get me. It made more sense for me to have RB1 rather than wide receiver one because I already had CD Lamb, Drake London, and a couple other guys on my squad. So uh, go get yourself some Devontae Adams. If you're going for that chip, he's one of the better buys. Are you ready for our third buy in
Third
2025?
bye.
Now, I think he's always been a buy for me ever since coming into the league because he was one of my favorite guys, and he was my one of my favorite rookies, and he ended up balling his year one. Mr. Bo Nix is a
Mm-hmm.
very much buy right now. Now, his value might be a little inflated. You might have to check who you're speaking with. You might have to check with what owner you're doing a little business with because it's not going to be cheap.
Well,
It's
the
not.
community thinks he. The community, according to Keep Trade Cut, which is basically the community, they have him at QB 11, and I think that's ridiculous. Bo Nix is one of my guys from last year. I think he was well down on the boards. A lot of people didn't like him coming in, but he absolutely smashed in year one. Sean Payton, anointed him as his, QB of the future. And just looking at this, in 6 point touchdown leagues, he was QB 7 in his rookie year, first year under Sean Payton, obviously as a rookie. They have some guys ahead of him that I would definitely smash over him. Caleb Williams, who kind of busted out in year one. I'm not 100% buying the coach narrative. That's kind of silly. The fact of the matter is, Chicago guys do not produce great QB seasons in Chicago. CJ Stroud, who face planted in year two and does not run, because one thing that Bo Nix adds to the equation is that he is one of the better running quarterbacks, as he was 8th in rushing yards and 6th in rushing TDs, tied for 6th. So, and that was as a rookie, and he also was. Uh, well, my bad. I fucked that up. He was 9th in rushing TDs, tied for 9th in rushing TDs, and 6th in passing TDs. So he scores points, and the team invested in more weapons and got some of the more trashy, sorry about your Cowboys, but got rid of some of the more slow, unathletic running backs behind him, like Javonte Williams and the tiny Jaleel McLaughlin, and replaced him with an pretty, I wouldn't say elite, but pretty damn good running back who is going to walk into the Alvin Kamara role, R.J. Harvey, and a guy that we like, and Angelo likes, Pat Williams. So you can see they're slowly putting better weapons around him. You have year two of his college teammate, Troy Franklin, and I think the sky's the limit. So give me Bo Nix over quite a few of the quarterbacks in front of him.
And then when you look at it, Denver, well, another team that was in that top 15 when it comes to passing attempts. And then you look at the overall offense, you get a year two in a Sean Payton
Mm-hmm.
system. They added RJ Harvey, who I think would be another benefit to Bo Nix, as their run game be should be improved uh, with RJ Harvey. And then you get a year two of Troy Franklin. We'll see what Sutton does. We'll see what if Marvin Mims can continue
I like
his
Marvin Mims, man. He brings that explosive element to the team.
yeah, we'll see if he can continue from what he showed last year on, and then we haven't even spoke on Evan Ingram, who they added at the tight end
Oh
position.
shit! I forgot about Evan Ingram. That's a good call.
Yeah, so I think that opens up things more in the middle, and then you got a couple other guys, a couple other cats in there. Like I said, I'm a very big Troy Franklin truther,
Hmm.
and there was a couple touchdowns that he dropped last year that Bo Nix put on the breadbasket, and he couldn't have thrown better. And we could be talking about a whole different other way of Bo Nix, but when we're talking about someone who's still young, yes, he was a older rookie prospect. I think he came, what, Bo Nix might be 24, 25 right now, maybe 20, going in 26. But what I like about Bo Nix, he's one of the more calm, collected young QBs at that. And to see somebody and just come into the NFL and show the composure that Bo
Hmm.
Nix shows, one, when Sean Payton goes Google eyes over you, that's usually a good thing, right? We've seen Bo Nix was his guy, and he absolutely was ecstatic that he was able to bag him Bo Nix. He was
That's his.
ecstatic. He was ecstatic to get him a RJ Harvey, and then he was ecstatic to get him a Pat Bryant as well. So they've added pieces around Bo Nix. They now you added once again another year of being able to develop as a quarterback,
Mhm.
that offense to develop in general together, gel together. Things could really be up for Bo Nix. We could honestly see, realistically, Bo Nix would be, I say, another mid to high QB2.
Mhm.
But he's another guy that can give you QB1 production at the very, very, very highest. I think, being realistic, I don't want to throw him into that QB1 too many times. He had a couple like top 10 finishes in 2024. Um, but I think where if all things go well, he could routinely see himself in that low QB1, area.
I I think he has top five upside. That
I'm not.
that guy can push for 4,000 yards, 500 yards on the ground. Uh, and he already proved that he could score touchdowns both in the air and on the ground. So I think the sky is the limit for this kid. I mean, he showed a lot of moxie. He won games in year one, so there is zero chance of him losing his job. He's the quarterback of the future, and he is Sean Payton's Drew Brees 2.0.
He would have to. I mean, he finished QB8 last year, so I will. It's not unforeseen for him to move into that top five, but
QB8 as a rookie, so
he would have to
um,
push out Lamar Jackson. I don't see that happening. He would have to
well,
push
Lamar
out.
Jackson's not getting pushed out.
He would have to push out Josh Allen. Don't see that happening. He would have to push out Jaden Daniels. Don't see that happening. And then
And he can
he
push
okay.
out Baker Mayfield. He can push
He
out
could.
Jared Goff.
He could
Um,
push out. He could push out Baker. I don't see that.
he
I think
can be
Baker may.
what for what with Jalen Hurts because Jalen Hurts is video game, but they also can be kind of conservative with the run game.
It will depend once again on, because with Jalen Hurts, he's going into another year where his offensive coordinator is changing. So we have to see how that impacts his overall game in 2025 as well. But
I
Bo Nix, go
I got one hot take for you.
ahead.
In dynasty leagues, right now, I would take Bo Nix over the GOAT, Patrick Mahomes.
I wouldn't argue with somebody over that in fantasy purposes. I could what fan looking at it now, Mahomes. finished QB 11 last year. Now, if you mind it, he didn't have Rice for a good lot of the year. That offense did get pretty stale sometimes, where
Hmm.
Kelsey wasn't always able to be the one to bring them over the hump. Worthy really didn't start coming on to the later end of the year, but they did end up adding some pieces to that overall offense. So, but I could,
But it's
it's
just
not
team
a,
philosophy. They want to like grind out games at this point. It's been like that for the last 2 years. They want to, rely on their defense, short passing game and running attack. Well, last year the running attack fell kind of, on its ass. So yeah, maybe Mahomes, regained some of his value and he has a throwback year, but it's it's not how they've run their team for the last couple years. So it's hard to see, them changing drastically, when that's been their identity for the last 2 years.
and then
I
one
know Sean
thing that,
Payton wants to kick your ass and score 50 on you weekly. That's what he wants to do. I've seen it for far too long.
and I think when it comes to, don't get me wrong, Patrick Mahomes will very much run the ball when he needs to, but I think when it comes to a runner, Bo Nix he's a better runner than Patrick Mahomes, and
Absolutely.
he's shown that he's not scared to actually take off. Neither has Mahomes, but I think he's more likely to take off than Mahomes. Uh,
Mahomes
Shut up.
will is he's so smart with it. He'll tactically run, and in real life, obviously Mahomes is a better player. But for fantasy football, Bo Nix will run more. He'll run more often, and he's just a little bit more athletic than Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes mostly moves around to pass the ball, but just the way they run their offense, it's just like just the pace of play is slower and they're more defensive oriented, and I don't see that as the identity for the Denver Broncos with Sean Payton as the head coach.
And then if we're talking about if you're wanting to go acquire yourself a Bo Nix, it's probably going to cost you two firsts at this point. It's probably you're probably in that two first area for Bo
I'd
Nix
pay it.
going forward. If maybe before the year, if yeah, I mean, shit, I would pay it too. I don't see somebody at the very least. It would have to be a 2000. It has to be a first and a second, and
Hmm.
to get to get a deal done. And if we're talking about Superflex and one
Hmm.
QB, one first round pick should get the job done because QBs have lower value in one QB leagues. I would be I'll be okay even doing a first and a second for in a one QB league doing it for Bo Nix. Superflex, I'm tossing two firsts.
I think the pro move is to you know see how your league mate feels about Bo Nix and see if they think that C.J. Stroud, Patrick Mahomes, guys of that ilk, Caleb Williams, see if they feel like that's a tier up and offer them those guys and see if you can get a little bit added on. And I promise you, you will get a better quarterback and you'll probably get another pick on top of it.
And to get a good middle part of our episode, we are here to remind you that it is brought to you by Fast Draft, if not the fastest best ball game out there on the market. Once again, drafts typically take about 5 minutes with 20 seconds per pick. You are able to do all rookie, all defense, and all flex tournaments to win cash prizes in 2025, baby. We're trying to get you in the game. We're trying to put money in your pocket. And what better to do that by using our promo code fourth, and Fast Draft will double your first deposit up to $50. Let me tell you that one more time. using our promo codes fourth. Fast Draft will give you up to $50 on your first deposit using our promo codes. And you can scan that QR code in the left hand corner that will take you to their website, and you'll be able to download the app. Whether you have an Android, whether you have an Apple phone, get your ass in the game and get you some money.
I feel like air traffic control.
Goddamn it. Right. Get you some money. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Now, to our next buy in 2025. I feel like that's a bar every time I say that. But we are looking at, I believe, Garrett Wilson.
Yeah.
Yeah, Garrett Wilson from the and actually we can pair this because it goes well with somebody who's on my list too.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Garrett Wilson and Justin Fields. I think both are buys in 2025. Buy Miss American Pie, but the Chevy to the levee, but the levee was dry. That's how I feel like
Them
every
good
time I say.
old boys and the night. This will be the day that I die.
Stop
That's
playing
all I
with them,
got.
Rock. Stop
That's all
playing
I
with them.
got. That's all I got. I'm like,
Now, now we have Justin Fields, Garrett Wilson. Who Garrett Wilson was already a person that was going to cost you a little bit of money. He was going to cost you a pick to acquire him. But I literally just acquired Justin Fields for the 201 in a super flex league. I think honestly that is relatively cheap for a starting quarterback. This is not actually no, I take this back. This is very much a Justin Fields shout out. Go get yourself some Justin Fields. You're very much too low on Justin Fields in 2025 when he was just 2 years removed from a top 10 finish in fantasy. He gets his college wide receiver that they tore it up with. Garrett
mm-hmm.
Wilson was literally in purgatory. He was in wide receiver hell playing with Aaron Rodgers' old ass last year. He's literally has spoke nothing but praise of since Justin Fields arrived in New York
Mm-hmm.
of how happy he is to have him as his quarterback. He literally said the world is about to find out how good Justin Fields is. I know how good
Whew.
Justin Fields is because I'm a Georgia Bulldog, and he should have been starting for us. But fucking uh, Kirby Smart was trying to be too smart for his own good. But Justin Fields should have been starting for us. Nevertheless, I think going no, yes, it is unproven. Let me backtrack a little bit. Is that offense right now unproven? Yes. Do we need to see him go out and perform? Yes. But I think he's shown glimpses with the Chicago Bears. And then you can also go back to last year. There was a reason why the Pittsburgh Steelers started off as hot as they did when Russell Wilson was hurt. Russell Wilson wasn't the quarterback that got them on a quick start throughout the year. It was Justin Fields. And if you're looking at the upside of a Justin Fields, you're not. It's almost the same way you would look at a. And I'm no, and I don't. When I say this, do not. I'm not putting them in the same tier, but Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts. You're not looking at those guys as they're winning me a fantasy game by their passing. They're winning me a fantasy game on their overall general game. So passing and rushing. And what does Justin Fields does with some of the better quarterbacks in this league? I think you could argue Justin Fields as a top three running quarterback in the league. Would you agree with that?
I think A, he's gonna be running for his life a lot because I mean, there's not a lot of weapons there. So, yeah, but when he was in Chicago, I think it was the 23 season, I want to say. I mean, he was freaking unreal. I mean, you could have told me that he was the best rusher in the league, and I would have believed you. Just the long runs. You don't even really see Lamar Jackson get those, 50, 60, 80-yard runs, in regularity like he was doing. And I mean, he was carrying the whole team. He was the only piece that was worth anything on that team. I mean, you know, eventually they traded for DJ Moore, but I mean, he was like the only thing. I mean, they were in a deep rebuild, and he would just take on the whole defense and just weave his way. And once he got any daylight, he was gone. I mean, he was making fools look silly out there. So if we can get back to that Justin Fields, um, I'm not sure where he would rank because I'm not sure the passing game. I'm not sure what he'll be able to do on the passing game, but just his running ability alone, could net him in the top 12, maybe even a little bit higher.
Mhm.
Um, but the thing about him is he is one of the funnest watches in the league. So, to be honest with you, he is a guy that would be fun to own. I've gotten rid of a lot of Justin Fields for first round picks just because
Mhm.
he was like my fourth quarterback on a lot of teams. So I just kind of netted the picks, but I still have a few of them on my teams. And as a QB3, he could really find his way into your lineup and maybe make one of your top two quarterbacks expendable in 2025.
Fuck yes, and that's why I'm making it my mission to one in leagues where one I and if we're going back to last year before everything kind of started going in the off season of 2024, you very much thought that Justin Fields was going to end up a starter somewhere,
Mm-hmm.
right? My prediction was that he was going to end up as an Atlanta Falcon. So I was in all the leagues that I had him in. I was holding. I wasn't trying to sell him. And then you saw him go to the Pittsburgh Steelers, and then you saw him become a QB2. And then I don't know about you, Rocco, but the amount of times that I had somebody try to just ship me a third or a fourth or a ragged something raggedy. It was always something
Mm-hmm.
raggedy for Justin Fields. I felt like his value was just more of holding, waiting to see if he ever got another chance at a starting quarterback chance. And now this is the time. The people that have been holding Justin Fields, this is our time to see if he can really put it together. He has 2 years. That's the grace that they gave him. 2 years to show that he can be a starting quarterback with them.
Mm-hmm.
Now this is now I see you're taking more of a risk because if he doesn't show something in 2025, 2026 to say he deserves a second contract to keep starting, I don't think he's going to have too many more chances to be an NFL starter if it doesn't work out
Mm-hmm.
in New York. And that's not and that might not be fair to him because already a dysfunctional situation when he got there. So he's trying to fix that on his end, but nevertheless, this could be the last time. So I think he's even more motivated to show the
Yeah.
world I should have been starting this whole time, and y'all gonna see that I am a dog. I think he's a dog, and now it's for him to show that
Yeah.
to the world.
Yeah. I mean that's the risk you take by acquiring him because if he doesn't lead that team to a decent record, there is almost 100% chance that they invest in the 2026 NFL draft and quarterback if they're picking high, and it's going to be a rich QB draft. So he can look at Lenora Sellers, Garrett Nussmeyer, Arch Manning. So that team He needs to lead that team to some wins, or his job could very much be in jeopardy. Um, so yeah, that's the risk you take, but it's an upside play.
Shout out to Lenore Sellers. I actually just got him in one of my Debbie drafts that I did. So I'm actually pretty excited. But if we're looking back at 2022 for Justin Fields, he ran for 1,143 yards on 160 attempts. So that ended up being 7.1 yards per average when he ran the ball to go along with 8 touchdowns on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I have referenced or I had correlated Justin Fields to Jalen Hurts because in that same year he only passed for 17 yards. But
Mm-hmm.
one of the things that I think we've also talked about routinely in discussions with Caleb Williams and discussions in regards to Caleb Williams is that Chicago is just harder to pass in. It's just an environment. It's harder to pass in. It gets windy. He's never really had. Yes, he had DJ Moore, but there was a he had dysfunction in that offense. He hasn't had the greatest play callers to bring to get the best out of him. So honestly, I think if we're looking at it, he's been in the NFL now for 4 years. He has yet to throw over 20 passing touchdowns in the league. That worries me just a little, but at the same time, I think he's being put in a position. And honestly, if we're even going even further, I the Jets might could not actually might not be done with improving their roster. What's stopping them from going through training camp and being like, oh, we need to trade for a wide receiver, wherever that is. Maybe it might be a Sutton, or it might be a Tyreek Hill. You never
Mm-hmm.
know. What stops them from saying we need a receiver, which could also increase his value? I'm just saying.
It's very possible, and you'll have June 1st cuts where they can, bring in a receiver. But as it stands today, it doesn't look super likely that he'll throw for 20 touchdowns unless he throws 20 touchdowns to my guy Garrett Wilson, who is a target earner, 150 targets with Devontae Adams there most of the year. So I think he has a very real possibility. We always talk about the target pie, and there is nothing there. There is the corpse of Alan Lazard. There is Malachi Corley, who
Sweet.
had one chance last year,
Drop that
fumbled the
motherfucker.
bag, and promptly went
Listen,
right back to the bench. So, he a decent, breakout candidate just because there's nobody else there. But he could also get cut in the off season. But let me show you something that I have pulled
lay it
up
on us.
here.
Lay it on us,
And
Rocco.
if you need to know anything about why Garrett Wilson is somebody you should be trading for, it's this. We can blow that up for a second there.
Mm-hmm.
Josh Reynolds, Arian Smith, Tyler
Hold on, brother.
Johnson, he's
Hold on, brother.
still in
Hold
the
on, hold on, brother.
league.
Let's not
Alan
let's not
Lazard.
let's not throw shit on another dog. Now, Eric Smith, shout out to you. Go dogs. Let's not throw shit on my boy. He
My
got but
bad. I wasn't meaning to throw shit on your guy, but I don't know
I'm
who
just
the
playing.
hell he is. So
I'm just
sorry,
messing
I
with
didn't know. I've never heard of him before. But yeah, what you see is a lot of nothing there. So that is that is the case for my guy Garrett Wilson, and he's the only guy there, and um, Justin Fields has already shown the propensity to lift a guy to a league-winning season by what he did with DJ Moore in 2023 when he was basically the only guy there with
Yeah,
Darnell Mooney hurt with 96 catches, 1,300 yards, and 8 touchdowns,
agreed.
which, you know, I love my guy DJ Moore, but Garrett Wilson's a better player than him. So if you got people in your league that are nervous about what Justin Fields could do with Garrett Wilson, I would pounce on that because I think there's, like I said, I think there's a very real chance that Garrett Wilson leads the league in targets. And I think this is the year he finally breaks out because he is the only game in town and he is going to be the first, second, third, fourth, fifth read for Justin Fields.
I will say it's something that's been keeping me up these last few days, last few nights, is a decision that I decided to do in one of my recent startups, and it was both were on the board. I think it was round four, either 4 or 5. It probably was more round four, depending on where typically where he goes. But it was Travis Hunter and Garrett Wilson, and in my head, I was like, I'm trying to have a good youthful and don't. No, I wouldn't say that. I guess I wanted more Travis Hunter shares on my team, so I
Mm.
decided to take Travis Hunter over Garrett Wilson. And you know, what I mean, yeah,
It's
yes,
risky.
it is risky, and nevertheless, I think you can make an argument for either or, right?
Mm-hmm.
And but to what kept me going back was like, and I ended up taking Justin Fields as my QB2. He's either my QB2 or my QB3. But I typically, and then that's another thing to talk about in startups. Another aspect to my roster building. If I'm deciding to go with Justin Fields as my QB2 or my QB3, or even more towards my QB2, right? That is giving me more of a chance to go get my elite wide receivers of how I like to
Mm-hmm.
play my boards, where I can go shoot. I don't need to go pick up a quarterback the first 2 rounds, maybe even three, if I'm really trying to push it, because I know I can get Justin Fields in those later rounds. He's going to be one of those last quarterbacks taken, typically that I've seen. I'm taking that discount every single time. He's been one of those guys where who was still on the board. Tua, he's been on the board where Tua's still on the board, and Tua's been one of the last. Usually, is one of the last quarterbacks taken.
Mm-hmm.
People don't want those problems. If you're, I don't see Justin Fields in that same category as Tua. He doesn't give me the same risk that Tua gives me that would make me nervous of acquiring Tua. I'm not. I'm 100% pulling the trigger on Justin Fields. I would have to think about pulling the trigger on Tua, and I would also lean towards fuck no, a fuck no, in touching Tua. So I think with Justin Fields, he and and hear me out, Rocco. I still don't think we have seen the best of Justin Fields yet. I don't think we've have he has been given the because if we're even looking at the Pittsburgh Steelers last year, who the fuck was the Pittsburgh Steelers? Well, who? It's not like they had dogs on their offense. It's not like they. I'm not, and that's not to shit on Najee Harris, but it's not like he was fucking Saquon Barkley. Not to shit on not they only had George Pickens and Pratt Firemove. Who was the wide receiver too? Once you took George Pickens out the out the way, and it's not like Arthur Smith is scheming up these guys for success.
Mm-hmm.
So he's going. I think it's fair to say that 2025 could be the best version that we see from Justin Fields because he's getting his college wide receiver. And if we're looking at Garrett Wilson's last year in college, which was Justin Fields as his starting quarterback, that was his best. He had the most receiving yards, he had the most receptions, he had 12 passing touchdowns. That's what Justin Fields can do for Garrett Wilson. Justin Fields has the potential to he's one of the dark horses when you talk about top 5 guys. He's if we're talking about at the max boom, his
Mm-hmm.
highest potential, Justin Fields could be top five in fantasy wise. Don't kill me. In fantasy, Justin Fields could be top five.
Yeah, with my builds, I can't. That's a little bit more risky than I can stomach. I would rather Justin Fields be my QB3 or QB4 than rely on him as a QB2. But you know, do you got
Yeah, right.
more of a stomach for risk? I'm generally trying to get two, maybe three quarterbacks because I know I can always sell at that third quarterback and tear down. Eventually, somebody has a need and they come to holler at me, and then I make my super team. But it's we're gonna have to do a pie. We could do a whole podcast on team builds. And I
Mhm.
think that's one that's coming up.
Yeah. Like I said, Justin Fields, Garrett Wilson, those are a tandem. If you believe in pairing and getting those, getting those, I forget the name of people, what they call them when you get the quarterback and wide receiver of a team.
Hmm.
What do people call them? Stack. When you get those stacked, I think Justin Fields and Garrett Wilson could be a very formidable duo in 2025 for sure.
I'm a big believer in targets. Follow them.
Follow the targets. Now, we're looking like we're at an hour in. I think we're coming up to honorable mentions. I think we could give about one or two. Do you have uh do you have one or two guys on the list that you would looking to acquire in 2025, and even to throw a
Yeah.
wrinkle to it? These could be guys that either are more riskier plays, but you're going for that chip. Who are you buying in 2025 to get
Uh,
you to the promised land?
there's a few guys. I got a whole list of guys. We're gonna save some because we have a show coming up with one of our guys in Discord
Hmm.
on the 30th. But one of the guys that I'm super high on is a guy that's been a league winner his whole career, and that's CMC. It's almost criminal that he is RB17 when he is gonna win people championships in the next 2 years. Nobody has. There's very few guys that have the upside that he has. He's completely healthy. He got the stem cell like George Kittle did a few years ago, and George Kittle hasn't been hurt since. You know, people got disgusted when he came back and left, but when you really break down what happened to him, he was shoestring tackled onto a cement-like surface in the Bill Stadium, and his knee came crashing down on that surface, and that's what happened. So I'm betting very hard on a CMC resurgence, and I'm getting him everywhere I can.
Yeah, listen, I'm gonna give you some stats real quick, and I'm gonna run through the years of Christian McCaffrey. Are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
All right, because it's going to, and maybe you might see a pattern here. 2017, 16 games played.
Mm-hmm.
2018, 16 games played. 2019, 16 games played. 2020, 3 games. 21, 7. 22, 6. Actually, I take that back. 22, it was 16 games because he played for Carolina and San Fran. He ran for a thou wow. And then
Mm-hmm.
in 2023, 16. 2024, played 4 games, totaling 202 yards, 4 yards per carry. Now, CMC, when you look at these numbers, he has over 10,000 yards all purpose for his career.
Mm-hmm.
That I think he's one of the very few guys in the NFL to have 1,000 rushing, 1,000 receiving yards in NFL history. Not that many guys can say that. If Christian McCaffrey can stay healthy in 2025, I am somebody who still has shares. I have sold a few, but I still have some shares. I
Sell to
think
me.
Christian McCaffrey can be, if he stays healthy, that's a big if.
Mm-hmm.
He could still be a league winner because one of what the San Francisco 49ers have lost in the offseason. We're still waiting to see if Brandon Ayuk comes back healthy. Well, they still have Jawan Jennings. They still have other guys, Kittle, uh, guys on that offense to get them going. They just gave Purdy a new contract. So, and you still got one of the better offensive play callers in the game. So Christian McCaffrey is still the focal point of the San Francisco 49ers, but that team isn't the juggernaut 49ers that we're used to seeing over the years. I think they have lost their luster. Honestly, the
They've lost
dynasty might,
defense,
yeah, the luster
which is
of
good for
their,
offense.
it might be down, but Christian McCaffrey could still be yourself a league winner. I'm not shipping. I'm not, I don't feel comfortable sending out a first rounder for Christian McCaffrey anymore.
Smash it.
You're smashing it.
Smash that 26. The
You're
26 draft
smashing.
sucks anyway. If I'm a contender, I'd rather have Christian McCaffrey over a late first for 2026 any day. Um, the facts of the matter are 2022 and 2023, he was first and second in PPR scoring. He was hurt last year. He's fully healthy. Buy into that injury uncertainty and win yourself some money.
And that is our episode for the night. I was going to say day, like the day isn't already over.
I don't know. Whenever
Man,
you watch it, it's whenever you watch it.
I'm telling you, bro. And those are a few of our buys in 2025. Go get them, guys. If you want to go get yourself to a chippity chip, get yourself some manyan in your pocket, if you will. We're trying to get you some manyan in your pocket from Fast Draft. We're trying to get you some manyan in your pocket from Fantasy. It's a win-win, baby. Keep it going. Like we saying, this episode has been provided to you by Fast Draft, once again, the fastest best ball game out there. If you want to get yourself some money, use those promo codes at the bottom of the screen as you see, and as they just popped up, fourth and fourth to double your first deposit up to $50. Fast Draft got you. We got you. This has been Fourth and Fantasy, and remember, my name is Hancho, and this is my guy.
Siriaco, call me Rocco. We are your.
Fantasy playbook to Dynasty wins, baby.
You do it way
Let's
better than
get
me.
it. Let's get it, baby. Let's end it. Y'all have a good night.
Boom.